My plan is to hide, to avoid, but if I get busted, if I get captured, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi. If I get captured, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi. If I get captured, I'm not going to do a Rambo, I'm going to do a Gandhi.
All right, peace and blessings, everybody. It's part 2 of notes from the book from the Gay Turd. That would be Bill Fulton, The Blood of Patriots. And he goes on to have a subtitle, How I Took Down an Anti-Government Militia with Beer, Bounty Hunting, and Badassery. The Gay Turd is a legend in his own mind. This book is full of Greek fever, homosexual nuances, and you can tell that Bill Fulton is a flaming homosexual himself. Let's continue because this is a lot of notes. But one of the things I wanted to bring out is that Bill Fulton brags as an FBI informant that he affected the political elections, the fair political elections within America. Now, that should be treason in and of itself. The fact that there were political elections going on in Alaska, the people were getting involved. Schaeffer was becoming a rising star politically. Joe Miller was becoming a rising star in the Tea Party. And Bill Fulton railroaded and torpedoed both of them as an FBI informant. That right there is treason in and of itself. It goes along perfectly with a former FBI agent who targeted Leonard Peltier, who said that the primary function of the FBI is to target and squelch political dissent and protect the establishment. And so when Tea Party candidates were rising up like Joe Miller, or when Schaeffer Cox was rising up as a Christian, constitutionally based candidate, the FBI sends in Bill Fulton to torpedo the entire event, and actually they put Schaeffer Cox in prison, but we're going to believe God that God's going to get him out of there. I have asked Schaeffer about some of the quotes that was attributed to him in this book, and Schaeffer says they're outright lies. So Bill Fulton, it goes along with his lie that he told to try to get in the military early. It goes in with his lie about when he made up a story. You got this FBI and who's the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, saying if you see something, say something. That just flicks the switch of every narc, rat, snitch in America. They'll just make up something. If you see something, say something. Well, now you got all these guys who want to be secret agent men, and they go tell the FBI that they've seen something, and my neighbor was cleaning his gun in his garage, and I think he's on the verge of being a mass murderer. So you got all these tattletales all over America that go talk to the FBI, and then you got these power hungry FBI guys who want to set themselves up as saving the helpless townspeople of Gotham City by making a joker out of everybody that they can. And they have illegal and unethical relationships with the media where they demonize their targets. It happens over and over again with Skylar Barbeau, Schaeffer Cox, Charles Dyer, Ed and Elaine Brown. The list goes on and on and on. So not only did Bill Fulton, the Gay Turd, misquote Schaeffer Cox many times throughout the book, but then we have this Pike's Landing meeting where the Gay Turd says that Schaeffer comes up with this big criminal plan at Pike's Landing, but Les Zerby and Jeremy Baker, who were also there, said it was Bill Fulton is the one who was putting forward all the violent plans. Not only that, but they recorded the meeting at, the Gay Turd recorded the meeting at Pike's Landing, but it was Scrocky and Bottini that told Fulton to destroy that recording because it could be used to exonerate Schaeffer Cox, and that he was not predisposed to violence, and that it was Bill Fulton that was egging on the violence. So the fact that Bottini and Scrocky told Bill Fulton to destroy that evidence and that the recording no longer exists is a crime in itself, and Bill Fulton, Bottini, and Scrocky need to spend the rest of their life in prison or be put to death once they're convicted in a court of law. Let's see what else we got. I want to talk about Sandra Klein a little bit. During the trial, Scrocky said that Sandra Klein did not have a big part in this entire thing, but she was Bill Fulton's handler, and she had a lot of investigative notes that she took when she was talking to Bill Fulton, and yet Scrocky diminished her role in the case and said that except for a very minor chain of custody log or any physical evidence to be presented, Sandra Klein did not have a big role. This prevented the defense team from asking and requesting Sandra Klein's investigative notes, and they needed those notes in order to exonerate Schaeffer Cox. That is not only Brady violations, it's NAPU violations, because they know that false testimony was given during the trial. And so this is yet more evidence that the prosecution team maliciously prosecuted Schaeffer Cox and did not turn over all of the evidence that's needed to exonerate him on the conspiracy to murder charge. Now, on page 144 of the book, Bill Fulton, the Gay Turd, admits that he went out on his own to threaten Schaeffer Cox and Les Zerbe, and that even if the FBI didn't order the Gay Turd to do that, the FBI knew about it and they documented it, and they refused to do anything about it, and they had those records. They hid those records at trial, which is a very, very bad thing. So the FBI, as I've been saying, is a very evil organization full of very evil men and women. On page 146 of the Gay Turd's book, it talks about Dark North Tactical, and anybody that doesn't see the relationship to Far North Tactical doesn't understand the case in detail. But Bill Fulton, the Gay Turd, is trying to hide the fact that he's talking about Aaron Bennett and Far North Tactical. It's obvious that Bill Fulton has a gay crush on Aaron Bennett. Not only Aaron Bennett, but Joe Miller and Schaeffer Cox. Bill Fulton, the Gay Turd, has father issues. He's just like these prostitutes who grew up in homes where they were abused and they have daddy issues. Bill Fulton has daddy issues like a spurned prostitute, and so he's always looking for a daddy. Joe Miller offered him, he was a rising political star, and so Bill Fulton had a man crush on him, and when Joe Miller did not return the feelings, Bill Fulton, the Gay Turd, torpedoed his election. Same thing with Schaeffer Cox. When Schaeffer Cox did not return the homosexual feelings, Bill Fulton became like a scorned woman and sent Schaeffer Cox to prison on trumped up evidence that was not true. What else we got here? I wanted to read to you, Bill Fulton constantly refers to Stacy and Emma. And I believe Stacy is probably Bill Fulton's gay counterpart. He refers to her as his wife, but it's very likely, since Bill Fulton admittedly was a G-string pole dancer, that he met his gay counterpart, Stacy, in some sort of gay nightclub, and Emma is probably their dog. Bill Fulton wants you to think that he has a daughter, but it's very likely that Emma is the golden retriever and that it's two queer fags that, Bill Fulton has a relationship with. I wanted to read to you how the Gay Turd writes about Brian Beasley, who's actually Aaron Bennett. And so I'm going to read to you from page 147. As I read this, put on your perspective that Bill Fulton is already leaning very heavily towards homosexuality, and ask yourself if a straight heterosexual male would write a paragraph like this about another individual. Page 147 from the Gay Turd's book. Brian was a true badass. He was never happier than when he was pulling a trigger or blowing stuff up. Arms and chest covered with tribal tattoos. Tall, muscular frame, eyes that could bore holes in wood, and an encyclopedic memory for sound bites from the founding fathers to Ayn Rand to obscure Austrian economics. He intimidated the crap out of people on several levels, and I loved him for it. We'd been friends for years. Underneath some fairly significant delusions and a hard, rough edge, he was a good guy. He was the one you wanted to have your back, and he was no fan of Schaeffer Cox. Is that how a straight heterosexual man writes about another man? No, it's very obvious on anybody that has eyes to see and ears to hear that Bill Fulton is a flaming faggot. I'm going to jump down the page, and I want to read you another paragraph that the Gay Turd writes about Aaron Bennett. He scanned my face, trying to read it. This is Aaron Bennett. All right, man, let's walk. He had on a pair of well-worn Carhat pants and work boots and a black dark North tactical t-shirt. I wore my black drop zone t-shirt. We were counterparts and dressed like it. He lit a Marlboro. He lit a Marlboro as we stepped out into the yellow sunlight and crossed the parking lot toward the road. You know, it's so obvious that Bill Fulton is a flaming homosexual when he writes about Aaron Bennett. He had a love-crush affair on Schaeffer Cox, and when Schaeffer Cox did not return his homosexual feelings, Bill Fulton became like a scorned woman with daddy issues. And he writes about Schaeffer Cox as if he's a 15-year-old boy, and he talks about sexual arousal when he breaks into helpless people's homes. He talks about murdering the mother of a litter of children, and that they won't get paid if they actually have to kill her. They've got to take her in alive. And then he talks about shooting the woman in front of the children. This is a very dark form of evil. When you receive sexual arousal at the domination of your fellow human beings. It's exactly the type of evil that exists within pedophiles. Within pedophiles, it's not just a sexual lust like a normal male would lust after a curvy woman, right? These pedophiles want domination. They want to dominate these children, and they receive sexual arousal by the pure evil and domination over these children. And in Bill Fulton's case, he wanted to dominate the people that he was bounty hunting, and so when he broke into their homes with his team of men, they would brag about their boners, and that they could see their boners through their pants as they were carrying around their AK-47. Now, this may be not very pretty to talk about, and it may not be very couth, but this is his book. His book has the word F-U-C-K anywhere from 200 to 300 times. It has the word G-D an uncountable number of times. It's G-D this and F that. And this is the type of book that they want you to believe is the true patriots of America, rather than Schaeffer Cox. You know, choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord, and my brother in the Lord is Schaeffer Cox. It certainly is not a pedophile like individual like Bill Fulton. Let me go through some more notes here. Yeah, page 47, he describes the Gay Turd and Aaron Bennett were counterparts. On page 148, Aaron Bennett says that Schaeffer is either going to be the governor of Alaska or end up in prison. This was a political hit job on Schaeffer. You understand? They knew that Schaeffer would become the governor of Alaska, so they had to do a political hit job on him to prevent that. This is the FBI using informants to affect the political outcome of a state of the Union. On page 149 of the book, the Gay Turd's book, Aaron Bennett and the Gay Turd conspire to murder Schaeffer Cox if any violence ever starts. Schaeffer was aware of this. I'm sure that it had an effect on Schaeffer Cox, and it affected how he lived his life, because he knew that there were threats from both Aaron Bennett and Bill Fulton. Now, Schaeffer constantly said that he refused any attempts to get him to agree to violence. And it was constant provocations and intimidation from these informants towards Schaeffer Cox that this whole thing was about. On page 151 of the Gay Turd's book, he admits that this is all a Hollywood movie, fantasy for him. He goes on to admit that the Gay Turd was on an anti-Christian crusade. So the Gay Turd and his book is all about anti-Christian, God-hating, and he hates God and he hates Christians who believe the Bible. On page 152, the Gay Turd spreads rumors and disinformation about testifying at trial. So the FBI starts these rumors, the Gay Turd promotes the rumors, and then the rumors get put up on Schaeffer. It's like a feedback loop that Schaeffer never started. It was the FBI that started it, and the Gay Turd helped promote it. It's called rumors and disinfo and feedback loops that the FBI starts. Page 154 is more evidence of the Gay Turd having daddy issues. Even his own men refer to him as daddy. It's about violent thugs, you know, needing a father figure because they had a bad childhood. It's so sexually deviant that it explains the motives for Fulton to become a fantasy in his own mind to justify his own actions, to destroy people's lives, and to participate with the FBI in putting innocent men in prison so he can become a secret agent man. And also, Bill Fulton was a drunkard. Schaeffer's told me that he's only ever met Bill Fulton like 2 to 3 times, and every single time Bill Fulton was drunk out of his gourd. That when people refer to Bill Fulton, even in trial, Bill Fulton was referred to as fat, drunk, and extremely violent.